As you just characterized it, capitalism is an economic system structured around a fundamental inequality between employer, of which there are few on the one hand, and employees on the other. And in addition to the macro issues we've discussed, there are also very serious social consequences to this relationship, and some of which we've hinted at, but we haven't gone into any specifics. And I'm wondering what you see as the major ones we're dealing with today. And before you respond, though, the extended metaphor that you use of viewing these problems as symptoms of the underlying illness that is the economic system is quite powerful. And I also, just based on what you just said, I kind of look at this underlying illness, the system, as what is unconscious.
Yeah, let me jump in with one important caveat. I don't focus on the economics because I think it's more important than anything else. I don't. Let me be as sharp as I know how. I think the problems of our society are shaped in part by our diets, by the climate, by the music we have, by the forms of sexuality, I'm trying to think of everything. I don't focus on economics out of some notion, which most of my professional colleagues need to believe. I don't. That economics is foundational, that economics is the key thing. I don't believe that. I focus on economics because others don't, not because it's more important. If it got the attention that other factors get, including psychological factors, I wouldn't be an economist. I would have gone off and done something else. I believe that's true for Marx as well. He began as a philosopher. I began as a natural scientist, and then went to philosophy, and then went to economics. I wouldn't have made that travel. I wouldn't have gone that direction were it not for the fact that there is a kind of, if you allow me to play the game, there's a return of the repressed. Marxism is the return of class analysis, of this division of the society in the economy between those who run the show and snatch the bulk of the product and those who do the work and are asked to live in the worst conditions under the greatest insecurity, etc. This injustice, this grotesquerie is denied, hidden, downplayed, marginalized. That's why I'm an economist. I want to, I mean, I'm like the fellow who has a puppy, and the puppy just did something on the rug, and I know, and even the puppy knows, and should not have done that on the rug. And so we take the puppy and put their nose very close to what they just did in order to hopefully teach the lesson, hey, don't do that on the rug. Right? I'm here to say, stop imagining, well, let me be sharper with you even. Millions of Americans have been badly screwed over the last 40 years as capitalists did the following thing because it was profitable. They automated a huge number of jobs. They replaced work done by human beings with a computer, then with a robot, and now with artificial intelligence. At the same time, they moved jobs out of the United States to China, India, Brazil, and all over the place. And finally, they brought it, for the jobs they couldn't send to where the people are low wage, they brought the low wage people here, the immigrants. So Americans are torn apart. They're angry at China, and they're angry at the immigrants, and they abuse the immigrants at the border in Texas and Louisiana and on. And I'm standing there, and I'm going, of course you're angry. You lost your job. You lost your income. You were told to be a real man. You could have your wife at home, and you could make money, and she could be at home. But she can't. You know why? Because to get the money to have that American dream that the advertisers shoving down your throat every 15 minutes, you've got to send the wife out. And when she's out there, she realizes you're not the greatest thing since white bread. You're not so attractive altogether. Moreover, she doesn't need you. She has her own job and her own income. 80% of divorces in this country are initiated by women. Hello? Why do you think that might be? But the economy is a problem? Oh, no. You pick up today's New York Times financial, the economy is strong. It isn't. But we live in a country of denial. So for me, I'm looking at a society, and I feel so bad. The working class is angry, rightfully. It's been badly treated, rightfully. Meanwhile, Elon Musk disposes of $150 billion. He can't spend it. If you spend $1 million every minute, you still wouldn't run out. This is lunacy. What are we doing? We are ripping our society apart, focusing the anger where it doesn't belong, protecting the super rich who would be just as luxuriously living if they had $1 billion as if he had 150. The rest of it should be going for what the society needs. If he weren't such an asshole, he'd do that himself. But he's caught up in the same denial, so we don't have it. I'll give you a very concrete example. We have 3 levels of government in the United States: federal, state, and local. All of them operate by raising taxes. If you're going to fund public universities, you got to have taxes. If you're going to maintain roads, you got to have taxes. If you're going to have public schools, you got to raise taxes. I mean, yeah, everybody knows that. It exists everywhere in the world. Well, what do you tax? There are 3 things, basically, that every government taxes. Income, as you get it, you got to give the government some. Wealth, what you own, you got to give the government some. And spending, when you spend, you got to give the government. So if you buy something in a store, there's a sales tax that you pay that to the government. $20 for the shirt, $2 the government tax. Income, withheld from your weekly check, money goes to the government. Now we come to property. Is there a tax on property in the United States? Yes, there is. We tax land, we tax buildings, and we tax what are called business inventories. The federal government doesn't do that, does not tax property. The state governments do not tax property. The only government that taxes property are local governments, cities and towns. In every city and town, there's something called the assessor office. The job of the assessor is to assess the value of the land, buildings, and then to tax them. So you pay 2% or 6% or whatever it is each year on the value of your property in that year. Okay? How do rich people, really rich people, hold property? They don't have property in land all that much. They don't have property in buildings all that much. Most of the property of really rich people are stocks and bonds. What is the property tax in the United States on stocks and bonds? And let me remind you, the richest 10% own 80% of the stocks and bonds. Answer: there is no property tax on stocks and bonds. Okay, I mean, if I were Perry Mason on television, I'd say to the judge, I rest my case. My other side has no case. I mean, what wild craziness would make you tax the automobile that a worker has as property, but not the portfolio of stocks and bonds as his employer has? What in the... And look, I have colleagues who spend their lives making up bullshit to make it look reasonable that we don't tax that kind of property. But after 2 martinis with those people, because I know them, they know what they do is bullshit, and they feel bad about it. But it pays the bills. You live in a society when you live in a society where the corruption runs that deep, that it has become naturalized, that it has become the air we breathe, the universe we live in, I would argue that one, not the only, not the most important, one foundation of an economic system we call capitalism is that peculiar organization of the enterprise, the factory, the office, the store, in which we take it as natural, as necessary, that there is a boss, that the decisions, the basic business decisions, what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and what to do with the revenue, are made by those few people. We all work. Once a year at the Christmas party, we all get together, drink too much, and the boss gets up on a rickety table, thanks all of the employees for their hard work this last year, which are crucial to the great profit we make. And then he sends the employees home because they have absolutely nothing to say about the profit he just thanked them for producing. Wow. And all of this is taken as normal. If that's normal, then we have a society whose corruption means that the Marxist conclusion has so often been, to get beyond this, you have to kind of start from scratch. You have to and there come then the ideas that the workplace ought to become a democratic community. One person, one vote. We decide together what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and what to do with the revenue that we have all together produced. We don't need the boss. We don't need the capitalist. We never did. Let's get rid of him. Let's see, can't we do better? The same impulse to do better than slavery helped defeat it. The impulse to do better than feudalism helped to defeat it. All that socialism and Marxism really are is the desire and the feeling we can do better than capitalism. And that's what will bring the system to an end. It won't be a war, bad as that is. It'll be the intolerability of continuing in this way.